The best thing about this film to me is that it has brought one of my favorite people here to talk with us today. Natalie Wood has actually had 3 film careers, as a child, as a girl, and as a woman. From Rebel Without a Cause and Splendor in the Grass to West Side Story, Gypsy, Love with the Proper Stranger, and now The Last Married Couple in America. She has consistently brought that rare quality called talent to the screen. She's also that Hollywood rarity, a happily married woman, as Mrs. Robert Wagner. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you, Rex.
I said earlier in my review that when I was watching The Last Married Couple in America, you, especially, and George Segal, seem so sane. You bring a sanity to the core of this kind of wacky film. And so I thought to myself, really what they need is just a new group of friends, I think. I just wonder, in your opinion, do you think the film is a realistic portrayal of what's happening? I mean, are we all headed for the divorce courts?
Well, I think it's a gentle satire. I don't think it's... I think they're, as you say, I think the 2 characters that George and I play are probably the most realistic. I think the rest is slightly exaggerated to make a point. I think it's more the way the writer felt, and I guess it struck a chord in the way George has felt, or in the way that R.J. and I feel from time to time, which is almost sort of guilty sometimes if you're happily married.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember having lunch with a group of friends, some women, and everyone was complaining about their husbands, and I thought that I should join in to say something negative, you know, about R.J., and I couldn't think of anything, and then they were kind of looking at me like, you know, well, what's the matter with you? I mean, where are your complaints? You're not sharing, you know, you're not being nice, and some of that is what's in the film, you know.
I just am curious as to what you all talked about on the set when you were making it, because the director, Gil Cates,
Yes.
is happily married.
Very, yes.
Natalie Wood,
married.
the star, happily married. George Segal, married. I guess happily married. George and Marion have been together a long time.
Yes.
Richard Benjamin.
And Paula Prentice,
happily married.
And most of them more than 20 years. I mean,
you're not the people, actually, then, in the film, are you?
Oh, well, no. I think it was just aspects of the film. A scene that I particularly felt is universal, because I think all women feel this way sometimes, is the scene that I have about when I'm just feeling terrible and getting a pimple and stuff like that.
That's a great scene. I wish we could have shown that on the program. That would have been my favorite scene.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene, too, because it just seems like, you know, anything can make you just go wild.
But it ends with a 4-letter word, which we're not allowed to show. Only Kenneth Tynan can say this on television and get away with it.
What a pity.
I think
television still needs to grow.
Have you, in your interviews about the film, come across this shock from people? I mean, they don't expect Natalie Wood to say that word.
Well, yes.
The F word.
The F word, yes, the F word. And at the time we were filming it, the only person who took exception to it was Edith Head, who said to me, "My God, I mean, you're not going to say that, are you?" And I said, "Well, it seems the right thing for the scene, and, you know, it seems the right thing for Mari to say." And so I just felt that it wasn't at all pertinent to worry about whether Natalie Wood should say it. It only matters if Mari should say it. That's the only possible...
Well, maybe I'm just old-fashioned or from the old school of growing up in the movies or something, but I always associate you with that very classy school of people in the industry who came along and did good movies before the new morality started.
Before the morality.
Now, not too many of those people have made a transition into the new kinds of films, but you have. So, do you feel that from watching movies that there are still things that you wouldn't do, that you see actresses having to do on the screen?
Well, it's so hard to generalize about a thing like that. You know, I think there are, yes, I'm sure there probably are. But one of the things I've tried to do in choosing parts is to really go by a kind of gut reaction and an emotional reaction to the part. And so you can't isolate one thing from it. I think there was a great swing towards everybody had to be nude, and I remember everybody was thrilled that this was finally allowed. And then I remember there was an actress who will be unnamed who didn't really have the most fabulous body in the world, and so they all went and discussed this particular love scene, and the director and the producer and this actress decided that they would have to find a way, even though it was the fashion to do them nude, that they would have to find a way to do them and not. And so she did, and a lot of the critics said, God, how inventive.
I'll be back with more of Natalie Wood in just a moment. Well, I think everybody, it's no secret, I'm not announcing anything, everybody knows you and R.J. married a second time. So obviously you went back and did it until you got it right. So you must believe in marriage.
Right.
But,
I believe in marriage to R.J.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I would have gotten married if I hadn't been lucky enough to meet him again, you know.
Well, maybe you should have stuck together right from the beginning. I mean...
Maybe, but then who knows? I mean, who knows? We went through some painful years during the time we were apart. And so maybe it's just as well we didn't inflict our pain on each other. Yeah. Some other poor people got the brunt of it.
Was there a point in your life where you did sit down and have a talk with yourself and say, look, I could go on and make 40 million movies, but my priorities now have changed. I want a husband, a marriage, I want children.
Yes. Well, actually, when R.J. and I split up, you know, when we were married the first time, and I was very young. I was 22, I think, when we split up, and I was 19 when we got married. And I had been working, you know, and I was very successful, and I guess it was at that point that I questioned the fact that I had never questioned my life or you know, and that I didn't feel as sure of anything as I felt I ought to, you know. So I guess going into analysis was that point that you're talking about, where I thought, you know, I have to find out what's coming down here as far as for me, and to try to find out what's important, sort out.
How long were you in analysis?
Well, I was in it for about 8 years, I think. There were the occasional periods where I didn't go, but I was very consistent. I would not do jobs unless I was forced to. You know, if I had a couple of pictures that I had to do that Warner Brothers made me do, which took me away from it. But otherwise, if it was up to me, I didn't do film so that I could continue with it. It was something that worked for me. I really believed in it, and it helped me a lot. And
up to that point, you'd been pretty career-driven, hadn't you?
Very much so. To the point where I remember taking a holiday in Switzerland, going to stay with the Nivens, who were very dear friends of mine. And all of the young people that year in Gstaad were from different countries, and they didn't know much about films. They didn't give a damn either. Yeah. And most of my close friends had been actors, and we used to sit around and talk about the method or this or that, or what did this actor do, or what did that actor do. And a lot of time was spent on how unhappy we were. That seemed to be very important. And I remember being terrified to be with this other group of people that didn't have any, like real people, you know, instead of civilians, you know. Right. And I was very happy to discover that I could talk to them, that I wasn't just this totally work-oriented, manipulated person, and that was nice. I liked it.
So did you begin to think at that point that maybe the career was not the most important thing in your life?
Well, I went through a little period of love-hate with work. You know, I hate this, I love this, I'm not going to do it, the hell with it. And then I got married and I had my children, and I do think that it's important to, at least I couldn't have worked when they were tiny babies. I didn't want to be away from them. I could barely go out and have a lunch date. You know, I just wanted to think about what they were doing, be with them. And I think that's important when they're babies. You know, now that they're older and everything, I dip my toe in, you know, and as far as work goes, to see if it would be okay.
Do they ever see any of your old movies when you were a kid?
Yeah. We have a print of a cassette of Driftwood, which is a movie I made when I was about 8 years old, with the brother of Lassie. And Courtney, my little one, she just loves this film. You know, she runs it over and over again. She gets hooked on these different...
Don't they watch Miracle on 34th Street
yeah.
every Christmas?
Natasha's a bit bored. Natasha likes Gypsy, you see. She knows the whole number.
Well, yes. I wish the audience could meet Natasha.
I know.
She is one of the zippiest 9-year-olds I've ever met.
She is. She's very
Courtney's not bad for 5 either.
They
are both hams. Do they want to go into the business?
They do.
They do?
Yes, but I'm not letting
From what
them
you've
so far.
learned, would you object to that, or would you try to keep them from doing it?
Well, I wouldn't try to keep them. What I feel like what I am trying to do is to not inflict my ideas on them. As far as I don't want them to feel that whatever they decide to do when they're a little older is to please me, that it should only be to please them. It shouldn't be to fulfill whatever ideas I might have, whether it's to be in the business or not.
Well, you've done a terrific job of growing up in a crazy industry, and I think of you and R.J. both as terrific survivors. So I think your two children certainly have two very good examples to look up to. I think a lot of people actually can learn a lot of things from you, and certainly from watching the way you've matured as an actress. It's very exciting.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's been terrific talking to you, and
Thank you.
good luck with everything.
Oh, thanks, Rex. The same to you.
Thank you.